Resourceful Designer, episode 299. Fight creativity with creativity.
Welcome to the Resourceful Designer Podcast, offering solutions to streamline your graphic and web design business so you can get back to designing. And now, your host, ZYXWVUTSRQPONMLKJIHGFEDCBA, Mark DeCote. Oh, thanks a lot for that one, Mark.
Good job there, Wayne. I actually didn't think you were going to do that. But I guess that's what a good voiceover man does. Up for any challenge. Anyway, on today's show, I want to talk about creative outlets and the way, as designers, our minds tend to wander at the most inopportune times, and how we can possibly curb that. But before I get to that, I just want to remind you about the Resourceful Designer community. We are a great bunch of graphic and web designers who are helping each other out, keeping each other accountable, critiquing each other's work, laughing at each other's jokes and situations we find ourselves in, asking questions about clients, asking for help, offering help, and so much more. I can't tell you how many friendships and partnerships have been formed within the community. I am always amazed at this group of people that I've brought together, and I would love for you to be among them. The Resourceful Designer community is not for everyone, but if you are looking for a group of colleagues that can help you improve your design business, to help you grow, to help you get more clients, and just overall be a better designer, then that's what we're here for. So many people in the community are so much farther ahead than they were when they joined. And they attribute a lot of that success to the community. So if you are serious about your design business and you want to grow, then why don't you check out the community and see if it's for you. You can join by visiting resourcefuldesigner.com/community. We would love to have you. And now, fight creativity with creativity. One thing that nobody tells you when you get into this design industry is that regardless of whether you're doing this part-time or full-time or how many hours a day you devote to working, being a graphic or web designer is a 24/7 job. Or maybe it just feels that way. Tell me if this sounds familiar to you. You're out doing errands. I don't know, maybe it's grocery shopping or going to an appointment. It really doesn't matter. Whatever it is you're doing has nothing to do with work. And yet, for some reason, you find your mind churning away at some work-related things. It starts contemplating a problem you're having with a client website. What's the best way to accomplish that? Or it starts generating ideas for that new logo you're designing. What if I play around with using an abstract star in the logo? It could be something as mundane as imagining colors. I really like the blue on this cereal box. I wonder how this blue would look on that poster I'm designing. Even though you're quote-unquote off the clock, your mind keeps designing. You may be watching TV and only half paying attention to what's playing because part of your brain is crunching away at some design problem. Or worse of all, you're lying in bed in the pitch dark late at night, wanting to fall asleep, but your brain has other plans for you. Have you ever found yourself in any of these situations? Call it the curse of creativity. Those of us gifted with it know that creativity can pop up at the most inopportune times. Now, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have it any other way. I love how my mind works and all of the creative things that it comes up with, although I could do without the sleep deprivation. But even that's a small price to pay for something I love doing. But even though I embrace this wild creativity we designers possess, sometimes it would be nice not to have my mind wander towards some design problem when I'm actually not working. because letting it do this over and over can lead to burnout. If all we ever think about is our job as designers, we may end up resenting what we do for a living. Now, there are various solutions to this quote-unquote problem. Some people practice meditation to clear their mind, and I'm sure it's very helpful for them, but meditation is not my thing. Some people listen to music or podcasts to escape. But I find that just like watching TV, your mind can still wander away from these intended distractions. I mean, I can't tell you how often I've found myself listening to a podcast or audiobook only to realize my mind started wandering and I have no idea what was said over the last several minutes. Some people turn to exercise, which is never a bad thing, but I'm not sure how effective it is at curbing wandering creative minds. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of brain power to count repetitions. No, I found that the best way to stop a creative mind from wandering is to give it another creative outlet. That's right. Fight creativity with creativity. Now, I'm far from being a brain expert, but I think many of these scenarios that I've mentioned don't actually require a lot of brain processing power. I mean, walking down the grocery aisle and picking out a box of cereal doesn't really require your undivided attention. Nor does putting one foot in front of the other while out running. This, well, let's just call it brain idling, leaves a big portion of your mind with nothing to do. And what do most sentient things do when they have nothing to do? They get bored and they start to wander. And that's why creativity, in my opinion, is the best weapon against wandering creativity. It's kind of like fighting fire with fire. Or, I don't know, maybe it's not. I don't know. Anyway, the best way to stop thinking of your job as a designer is to occupy your mind with another creative task. Since creativity uses a lot of brain power, it's very difficult for your mind to think of two creative things simultaneously. So it focuses on the more immediate one. What creative outlet you choose is actually irrelevant. Maybe instead of listening to music, you try creating music. Maybe instead of reading, you try writing. Maybe instead of going to a gym to exercise, you try a sport. After all, most sports require creative thinking. Or it could be knitting or sculpting, dancing, scrapbooking, or even basket weaving if that's your thing. It doesn't matter as long as it requires creativity to do it. Because when it comes to creative outlets, there are unlimited choices. Now, my personal favorite creative outlet is woodworking. I may have mentioned it before on the podcast, but I love woodworking. In fact, I think if I hadn't become a designer, I probably would have become maybe a carpenter or something in the woodworking field. I just love building things with wood. I even have the battle scars to prove it. Last year, while building a plant stand for my wife, I caught the tips of two of my fingers on my table saw. Now, luckily, the damage wasn't too bad. A couple of small scars are the only evidence of the mishap, but it didn't deter me from my love of woodworking. So the dangers aside, I love taking raw pieces of wood and creating something new and unique out of them. Now, this past weekend, I created a food cage for our cat. Don't worry, it's not as sinister or cruel as it sounds. We recently got a new puppy, and we didn't want him eating the cat food that we leave out. Our cat is getting old, so making her jump up to areas that are out of the dog's reach wasn't really a great idea. So I designed and I built a cat cage. It's a wooden cage with an opening on one side that we place over the cat's food bowl. We place this cage in the corner of our bedroom, close enough to the wall so that the cat can easily squeeze by and get in through the opening, but the dog can't. Problem solved. The cat can now eat in peace whenever she wants, and all the dog can do is sit outside the cage and watch with envy. Now, it took me a weekend to design and build this cage. Not that it was that difficult, but I had to give time for the wood glue to dry. But let me tell you, the entire time I was conceptualizing and working on this cage, I did not once think about any of the websites, podcast artwork, or any of the other design projects I have on the go. And that felt great. It felt good to not be a graphic or web designer for that short period of time. Instead, over the weekend, I was a woodworker. That's my creative outlet. Whenever I need to give my mind a break, I go to my workshop and I build something. Because I'm guaranteed that while I do that, I'm not thinking about my graphic or web design work. And you know what? I always feel refreshed and energized after working with wood. It's as if taking a break from thinking about design makes me more eager and excited when I start back up again. Woodworking actually recharges me. And I think I'm a better designer because of it. So what creative outlet do you use to escape from being a designer? I firmly believe that having one, if not more than one, will make you a better web or graphic designer. Think of it as exercising your creativity. Just like you don't do the exact same routine each time you go to a gym, changing up your creative outlet will make you a healthier and more rounded creative person. Your mind and your clients will thank you. So the next time that your mind starts wandering at really inopportune or strange times, why not consider fighting that creativity with a different form of creativity? And that's what I wanted to talk about today. I know this is a short episode, but no sense drawing it out and making it any longer. Just like any design project, you keep it simple and to the point. And that's what I'm doing with this episode. So once again, before I go, the Resourceful Designer community is waiting for you to join. resourcefuldesigner.com/community. If you're serious about growing your design business, you should really check it out. So thanks again for listening. If you're not already, please hit subscribe or follow in whatever app you're listening. That way you will never miss another episode of Resourceful Designer. Until next time, I am your host, Mark Decote, wishing you all the best with your design business and reminding you to stay creative through a second creative outlet.
Thanks for listening to the Resourceful Designer Podcast at resourcefuldesigner.com.